Value Proposition by the Fitness Business Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Pellegrino. The Value Proposition is a monthly show on the Fitness Business Podcast, created specifically for industry suppliers to showcase the value that they bring to health club owners and operators beyond their product and service. For our August 2023 show, we'll be speaking with the Fitness Industry Suppliers Association, or FISA as we will call it in this episode, Executive Director Sal Pellegrino, and one of FISA's founding board members, Chris Torgler, who is VP of Sales at Inspire Fitness. They're both going to share with us today the history of FISA, their upcoming events for the remainder of 2023, and their vision for 2024 and beyond. Sal and Chris, welcome to the Value Proposition.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm honored and thrilled to be here with you and with Chris Torgler.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It's very nice to be here as well.
Awesome. Well, we're going to jump right in today, friends. Chris, you are a founding board member for FISA, and you've been involved for 22 years. So can you walk our listeners through the history of FISA and how it came to be?
You're testing my memory now. 22 years. It's been a while. So, yeah, I think, and again, times were a little bit different, but 22 years ago, the industry was doing quite well. It was before the first financial crisis. And, the industry was growing. However, from a supplier side, we really didn't feel we had a voice. And whether it was the number of trade shows that were being held, the costs associated with those trade shows, as well as data that we needed in order to make us better. And there was a group of us who kind of came together, kind of shared, took our competitors' hat off and kind of shared the basis of, what would it be if we were able to come together, form a group to try to really further the industry, not only for us as suppliers, but for customers. And really from that, there were a couple of things. One was creating events where you didn't have to spend, a fortune. So we could expand the pie for smaller suppliers, not just the bigger players like Precor or Life Fitness or Cybex or Core, but allowing some of the smaller ones to, be able to get a presence out there and meet with customers. And then the other thing was a way that we could gather data that could make us smarter and better in terms of suppliers. And from that, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the industry trend report, but, there wasn't really much data for suppliers to make good decisions. And data really is what is needed in order to drive good decisions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for walking us through that history, Chris. And while we're on the topic, why don't you talk to us a little bit about this trend report?
Sure. Probably the industry's best kept secret in a way. So one of the things that came about was, how can we really gauge how the industry is performing from a supplier standpoint? We've got new club openings, we've got attrition, we've got all these factors that are really focused more on the health club or the Y or the JCC. There was really no data to talk about, what categories were really blossoming as a product category or growing, shrinking, what trends, where do we invest our R&D money and things like that. So we got together where we each of us submit our data anonymously to a third party. That third party aggregates all the information, and then we can look at ourselves and how our performance is against the industry. Thus, you may think you're having a great year, and then you look at the data and you notice a certain product category is actually growing at a faster rate than what you grew at. Likewise, there may be some product categories that are shrinking. And it really will help guide us. Where do you put your money? Like I was saying, in R&D, you don't want to go into a category that actually is shrinking. Or where, maybe put some more investment in a category, maybe a treadmill or some other category that we're capturing that's growing rapidly. In addition, when I was at Precor, we had a public company that was our parent. and they wanted data-driven decision-making. And one of the things the trend report gave you was a third-party, independent, conclusive way of measuring yourself or a category, so that if you were petitioning maybe to come out with a new product and you needed data that said this is the opportunity you have out there, the trend report showed you specifically that. So it was a great way for us in order to help us get resource money for us to develop further products.
So when you say we all supported or submitted our data, Chris, do you mean vendors and suppliers submitted data, or is it club owners too?
No, it's just all the suppliers.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Each of us, we take off again our competitive hat. We don't know, I won't know what maybe one of my competitors, their specific data. It's all aggregated and it's all confidential. But again, if I know what my company sold in that category, I can measure myself over time against the category itself.
Wow, that's awesome. It's incredibly impactful. Thank you so much for sharing about that. Sal, do you mind walking us through where and when the 3 main FISA events are each year?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Hey, great job, Chris, on trend report explanation and history. It was just amazing. It's just really terrific. Well, the 3 events coming up, we have FISA East, which is October 30th through November 1st, and that's in Miami at the Biltmore Hotel. FISA West is in February 19th to the 21st. That's at La Quinta Resort in La Quinta, California, Palm Springs area. And then we have a FISA for YMCA event, which I love this commute. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's May 5th through the 8th this year at the Ballantyne Hotel. So very excited about that. But more importantly, FISA East will be our 51st event. And I just can't believe how many events that have been created. David Dynaman, the executive director, did a great job, he and the board, putting this together over the years. And I'm just in awe of how many events that we've had, because they've just been so successful. Me as a vendor, I've been to so many of them, and it's always been my favorite event because the intimacy of it. And so it's really, really great. But thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely. So I want to dig in a little bit about who exactly can attend FISA. So walk us through who is there, who can you expect to be there, and what attendees can expect a day in FISA to look like.
Sure. Okay, cool. All right. Well, first of all, FISA is a nonprofit. Okay. And, it was founded to really connect and engage suppliers, which we refer to as host suppliers, the companies that actually pay money with their customers, with decision makers, either club owners, regional players, JCCs, as well as we have a separate event for YMCAs. So again, that's the goal of the 3 different events. A typical day, you fly in on Sunday, it's a full day Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, and then you're out of there. But basically a nice meet and greet Sunday night. You have your schedule, you register, you have your appointments. We have this very unique and sophisticated appointment process, which is wonderful. The suppliers actually pick the guest appointments, and I always thought that's a great advantage being a supplier with FISA. And your day starts off Monday. Team breakfast. There's so many social opportunities to build relationship, enhance existing relationships, and meet new people. So there's always a morning roundtable discussions, education by your peers. There's some kind of team building lunch, and then we go with I refer to as the speed dating meetings. The 20-minute meetings between the vendors and the VIP guests. There's social events in the evening, so it's a great 2.5 days. Always been one of my favorite, and people that come are always thrilled. Actually, over 80% of our attendees are people that have been there before, especially on the supplier side. So it's amazing to me how loyal the suppliers have been, and it's always a great experience for both suppliers as well as VIP guests, owners, operators, or managers who attend.
That's so awesome. So you both have attended FISA events as suppliers. So Chris, what is your favorite aspect of FISA from the supplier side?
I really think it's the intimacy. I think one of the great things that, a lot of us respect it, and we limit the numbers. So we're not looking, this is not something where, we're trying to make this, as Sal mentioned, we're not for profit. So we're trying to make it a meaningful event, both for the customer and for the supplier. So it is that casualness, the intimacy, the fact that it's not a high pressure day. We've got we try to mix it up a little bit. We do some team building. We'll have great guest speakers talking about whether it's trends going on in the industry or ways that you can better yourself, even through just sharing information amongst yourself during those downtimes. So it's just a great way to connect.
So awesome. All right, Sal. So you fairly recently, left a stellar career in fitness equipment sales to become the executive director of FISA. I know firsthand that change was important to you. So I would love for you to share with our listeners why you believe so wholeheartedly in FISA's mission, and maybe what it was about FISA that allowed you to make this jump.
Wow. Obviously I was loving my opportunity at Precor to be in selling in national accounts or strategic accounts. Life was good, and all of a sudden, last October, November, the board came to me and said, "Hey, David is retiring next year, and your name keeps on coming up as a potential." And I went, let me think about this, and I thought about it for about 2 hours, and I went, that is the perfect job for me. And so anyway, I was absolutely thrilled to be asked. Obviously, I have a great deal of respect for FISA and what David has created, and I was honored to be selected and very excited about it. I mean, gosh, FISA East, we're doing great. Believe it or not, we're full with our suppliers, so I actually have a waiting list for the event, so that's exciting. And the VIP guests, we're obviously going to have some really good, buyer or attendees or VIP guests. So it should be a great experience. But anyway, that challenge, and it also was a way for me I thought that next chapter for me as a way to give back all the years of experience, 35 plus years selling for some great brands, a nice way for me to really help both sides of the industry as I, finish my career path.
Couldn't agree more. Sal Pellegrino leading the charge for the suppliers. I love it. That's wonderful. All right. So you did mention where FISA East is, but I want you to do it again. And then do you still have spots? Are we full? Is it what if someone's listening today and they want to get involved? Is it this event or is it the next? And how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. All right. So VIP guests, those invitations will be going out soon. So from a customer standpoint, if you're a regional player on the East Coast, obviously there'll be a great opportunity there. From a supplier standpoint, we hit our target goal. I have people on a waiting list there, but we will be starting in the next month or so signups for FISA West, as well as our YMCA event after that. So again, the outpouring of support from the suppliers, the supplier network has been extraordinarily good, and I couldn't be more proud of it. So very excited where we sit now, and we got 10, 11 weeks to go before the event, and where we hit our goal already. So it's pretty darn exciting.
Well, hats off to you both. That's really wonderful. And I love so much, and I do want to talk about it before we wrap up today, but I love that you include the nonprofit side. And so, Chris, do you want to start us off? I just want to hear, from when that, was it always like that? Or did you operate for a few years and say, we need to include the whys? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I think, and again, it started where we wanted to be very inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it necessarily said, okay, we're only going to be going after health clubs, because as suppliers, we have a diverse customer base, you've got hospitality, you've got nonprofit, you've got multifamily. There's a whole host of customers we sell to. And, early on, I did mention all those trade shows. Well, really today, there aren't many trade shows. So how do you reach out to those customers? Since COVID, a lot of them have cut back in terms of travel budgets and things like that. So I think the future is very bright for events like FISA because, again, we're diverse. So we've since had specifics that although we do mix at events, you'll see we try to be health clubs, but there were some JCCs I know at one of the recent events. We do mix in Ys, but their business model is a little bit different, and maybe their priorities in terms of what their concerns about. So if we're getting speakers and things like that, but there are ones where you can mix. But I do think the future is really with less and less trade shows because of how costly they are to everybody. I think intimate events like this, and you might see something specifically geared for one of the other ones I mentioned, the other segments, hospitality, for instance. Their needs are quite a bit different than maybe a health club, obviously. So I think for us, it started where mainly it was maybe second tier health club people, and I say second tier, only smaller. That maybe weren't attending all the big trade shows, and it's since grown to a very diverse audience where we'll reach smaller, not-for-profit, larger, and again, I think the sky's the limit in terms of it's a changing marketplace out there, right? The world's changed quite a bit over the last couple of years, and I think as an organization, we need to evolve. Or you get left behind. And so I think, as we move forward, I think, the leadership of FISA, the board that supports Sal, great group of people. I've known them for obviously a long time and want to see the industry, not just the suppliers, but the industry itself move forward. And I think it's a good voice and a good way for us to help get the message across.
That's so great. Thank you, Chris. And is there one specific goal or vision that you have as a founding board member that you would like to see FISA accomplish in 2024?
I think it's that point of, not looking back, but looking forward. The world has changed quite a bit, and there's other industries we can look to that are maybe a little bit more mature than we are, that can give us, some tools and some ideas of what ways that we have to look going forward. I mean, obviously, social media, AI. There's a host of things going on that are going to impact the fitness industry, and are we keeping the suppliers, our customers, or are we, exposing them to these things, especially some of the bigger players out there who, maybe their parent companies are, have the research and the data to back that up. Because I really do think if we don't evolve, we're going to die. And I'm optimistic. The fitness industry is a great industry. Obviously, I've been doing it all my life, like Sal, and I only see a bright future, but I see it evolving.
That's so cool. Sal, how about you? Any specific goals or visions as you go into a very busy 2024?
Yeah, well, you know what? We just had our board meeting last week, Sarah, in Irvine, California, and the board of directors, just such great people. Can I just thank them all real quick? I'm going to do that. Eric Weber, Adam Geyer, Matt Hacker, Scott Seacrest, Jeff Diltz, Terry Woods, Chris Torgler, he's here, Mark Ehrlich, Mike Zinda, Jason Avaseo, and Donna Lenz. Again, their guidance, their support, the knowledge that they have from their respective companies and industries, I think are going to really be so important to move us forward. The intimacy, those supporting the regional players, being inclusive, I think the building blocks are here, and I just very excited to, we're going to be trying some new things, just some different things. I have a great surprise person that's going to be leading our education at FISA East. So those who attend are going to be pretty thrilled. So you'll hear that shortly on another video that I'll do a video announcement. So again, we have a great base and we've adapted over time, and we will continue to do that to make sure that we create a perfect environment for both the supplier and the VIP guests.
Amazing. Well, thank you for listing your board. What a board of heavy hitters there. My goodness. Every single name, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was, believe me, I was sitting at that table last week and saying, man, I am surrounded with some incredibly talented people, so.
Well, that is so awesome. Thank you both so much for your time, the energy that you pour into FISA. Your friends at the Fitness Business Podcast are wishing you a very successful FISA East and 2024 ahead. Thank you all so much for listening to the value proposition for the Fitness Industry Suppliers Association. Tune in next month for our September episode of the Value Prop. And to show we walk the talk at the Fitness Business Podcast, all the resources, links for today's show can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, adding value to our FBP family. Until next month, what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. See you next month, FBP family.